Now let's go to Blake, who I think this is when you and I talked. We talked a little bit about how you guys try to decide which types of characters you want in the game. So Blake has a question about that. Go ahead, Blake.
Hi. I was curious to know if you guys are going to add fighters that are like casters, like Doctor Strange or something. Like you're looking at that.
So the idea of a different fighting style, basically.
Right. Yeah, we're definitely looking at all classes. I can't name characters at all right now, but I maybe. I'm definitely not saying no to that.
So Blake,
I can't say yes either.
Blake, if you're still there, who would you want to see in the game? Is Doctor Strange who you're holding out for?
I'm holding out for him or the Thing. I know it's a little random.
Those are so not the same type of character.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
let me. Are you still there? Let me ask you this.
I'm still here.
So, as far as being a good fighting game is concerned, is like having the Hulk and Thing. They have very similar fighting styles. So, do you think it's worth giving that Thing slot to him as opposed to someone else who might fight differently and in a different kind of interesting way? Or is it because it's the Thing that's that interesting to have him in there?
I just think the Thing is a badass.
He is.
He really is
he's definitely
badass character.
He's just an orange version of the Hulk. Come on.
If you really go online and you look at message boards, he's definitely one of the more requested characters.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's definitely, the reason I asked that is because that's one of the kinds of questions that we in Capcom have to consider when we're selecting our character list is, there's 5,000 Marvel characters, and we've got as many slots as we have. I almost said a number there.
You know what?
You just gotta weigh everything. I'm not saying the Thing isn't in it, but I just want to kind of actually further answer a question that Steven asked earlier about my job, and it's a lot of it is kind of figuring out the balance of things and in that kind of way. It's a good question.
I just, you know what, I'm one of those weird players that like to play like the more bigger, obscure guys, you know what I'm saying? So
I don't think the Thing's obscure at all. I think people definitely know him. For a while there, he was on my business card. He's since been replaced by Thor. But, we love the Thing.
Very, very telling change of business card. Of course, if people are just joining us, you're listening to Chris Baker of Marvel. You guys are Marvel Entertainment, right? You're not Marvel Comics?
Well, Marvel Entertainment is sort of the kind of overarching name between comics and studios. I'm in the Marvel Studios building.
Chris Baker in the Marvel Studios building as we speak, answering all your questions about Marvel vs. Capcom 3, or at least the ones he's willing to answer. Of course, on our weekly Kotaku Talk Radio, which comes to you through CBS Radio and chataboutit.com. And Chris, I had a question for you about scale. When you're doing your job, for whether it involves the movies or whether it's a game like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, how much does it matter that, like, in the comics, Galactus would seemingly be way, way, way too tall to be in a fighting game, and maybe way too tall to be in a lot of other forms of entertainment? Yet somebody could say, oh, well, let's just shrink him down and have him be twice as tall as the average man.
Sure.
Is scale flexible like that, or do you guys actually have a rule? And we could use Galactus as a specific, even without confirming him for the game or not. Would a character like Galactus even be in play in a game like this, or would you say, no, he's too tall, can't go in?
Sure. I mean, I think, which one was it? One of it might have been X-Men versus Street Fighter or X-Men Children of Atom had Apocalypse at the end.
Yeah.
And he was huge. And, you basically just saw him from the chest up, as I recall. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But, I mean, you definitely want to respect the scale that has been portrayed in the comics. But if a character is really cool, then they're really cool, and we'll try to get them in there. So you want to try to figure out ways to get, maybe a humongous character in there. 2 had the Sentinel, and the Sentinel can be super huge. They scaled him down a little bit so that he's only super huge compared to everybody else.
Right, compared to like
playing field.
in the Wolverine video game last year, the X-Men Origins Wolverine game, he was,
Mm-hmm.
I think, much closer to the scale that he's portrayed in the comics. The Sentinel was I'm calling it a he. Right, it was like 30 times as tall as Wolverine, which is pretty cool. But so like a Galactus in a game like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, if he were to be in there, he could be in there at quote unquote real size, or he could be shrunken down. You're saying sort of like you as the guy who would sign off on this. You wouldn't allow Wolverine to shoot energy beams out of his claws, but you would allow Galactus to be, I don't know, twice as tall as the average man?
If there's a compelling gameplay reason for it and story reason for it, then yes.
Cool.
But like I said earlier, gameplay drives everything, and sometimes you got to make a few allowances here and there. If you guys can convince me for a good Wolverine shooting lasers out of his claws game, then maybe we can make that happen.
Okay, I'll work on it.
We'll write something up, definitely. So, Chris, something that hasn't really been discussed, I don't think, I haven't seen it discussed, are the backdrops, the settings for the stages. Can you tell us anything about what sort of stages or what sort of thought is going into the creation of these stages for the game?
I can't name anything specifically, but I can tell you that it's not just random stuff anymore. It's actually kind of themed kind of stages to go along with Marvel and Capcom locations. So, the last one, everything, they were kind of cool, but they were kind of random at the same time. It was like pirate ship or something in one of them, and it's like, they look cool, but they don't really say Marvel or Capcom. This time, they're all going to say Marvel or Capcom in some way.
By the way, who can stretch their arms longer, Mr. Fantastic or Dhalsim?
I'm going to go Mr. Fantastic on that. Maybe I'm biased.
Yeah. All right.
Are you going to pepper the entire podcast, Attilo, with random questions?
Who could win? Who could win a court case? Phoenix Wright or Daredevil? Who could beat whom in court?
I'm going to say She-Hulk would get them both.
Oh, good one.
Ooh,
yeah.
Nice. That was a nice little surprise attack that you pulled out right there.
Yeah.
Shut up now.
Didn't see that one coming.
So the getting back to the themes, the settings, would it be fair to guess that perhaps those themes will tie into the storyline, the idea that you guys are going to have a much stronger plot this time around?
Yeah, but probably. I don't actually know, to be honest with you. We're still hammering out the story, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
It is more involved than it's ever been. It's not going to be an epic RPG. I don't want to get your hopes completely sky high about the story. It is going to be good. It will have more Marvel input than any fighting game has ever had. But you can't tell as huge of a story as you would be able to in something that's like a Ultimate Alliance or something like that.
Right. Okay, so any Marvel zombies in this game?
I can only talk about the characters that have been talked about so far.
Dang it. Are any of the characters zombies and we don't know it yet?
That would make them good enemies for Chris Redfield.
Chris Redfield's in the game. Maybe there's some connection there.
Exactly.